I'm Dwayne Brummett. He's Ali Alberigo, and this is the School Owner Talk podcast.
Hello, once again. It's that time again. Ali Alberigo and Dwayne Brummett here. We have a special guest today. Ali, great to be with you, sir.
And great to be with you as well. And yes, we do. But although this guest is not new to our podcast, because we talk about him all the time, right? Tommy, we talk about you all the time with,
do you?
Yeah, your sales techniques and all the things you've done for the industry. So yeah, you've been on a podcast for a while.
We figured we should stop talking about you and start talking to you.
Exactly. So let me quickly, for those that don't know, which I doubt there's many out there, this is Tommy Lee. Tommy is a leader in our industry. He's been so for a very long time, 25 plus years, where he's been teaching people business systems and concepts and sales tactics and so on. But he's also at the same time simultaneously been a very successful school owner, running his own school. And you're in Maryland, is it? Or is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and you know, your school is beautiful. I've seen pictures of it. I've never been there, but I've always seen pictures, and we've gotten to hang out all over the world, Australia, you know, Vegas, you know, all over the place. We've hung out and taught and did seminars together and so on. So without further ado, I just want to introduce you to all our listeners and get you on the show.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for being here though. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for asking. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I think it was.
Wow, I've been kind of out of the picture. I kind of retired per se.
Yeah.
But I've done a couple of these, and I'm enjoying it. I miss it. So anything I can do to add value, I will.
That's
well, we appreciate that. Yeah, I think Tommy was the first time I met Tommy was through PPS or
right.
Wow,
that was Joe Gallia, his first company. Yeah, then it became APS. Then it became Member Solutions.
Right.
And then I think the three people sold. Yeah, they got bought out. They sold the company, which is great. I was their head coach for many years. I loved it. Like I was, you know, they paid me a salary and I talked to their clients. It was a very fun gig that we did. And Tommy and I would do a lot of the speaking events that they would put on every year together. Yeah. So cool. Let's jump right in, Tommy. I think that your expertise that everyone knows you for is, of course, sales, right? And sales strategies and techniques. But you have such a vast knowledge of running a school that only touches the tip of the iceberg. But that's what you're known for. Through Dwayne was just holding up before one of your step-by-step sales success systems that you've had.
And the SBSS systems.
Yeah. And Dwayne talks about that all the time on our podcast about how it's laid out, the questions to ask. So Dwayne, why don't you start with some good questions on that while I at everyone on our podcast right now?
Well, I will tell you, of course, we don't all do phone calls like we used to, but the very first thing that I picked up out of the system in totality that was the most beneficial, that was the actual phone script, which, you know, obviously in retrospect, I was thinking, man, I should have had a phone script, but I didn't. And just learning how to actually follow a phone script was like a huge aha moment for me. And I don't even know that schools actually probably even have phone scripts anymore, just because we're not answering the phone like we used to. But that was the biggest deal to me, was the phone script. And then, you know, from there, being able to put some of my own stuff in there. Not that what you didn't have was great, but, you know, putting in there, like, okay, so you know where we're located at, and you know we're located at this place and this place, and then, and even from the fact where they said they didn't know we were located, I was able to actually write scripts so that my program directors or even my instructors were able to go, oh, that's not a problem. Do you know where North Street is in Bradley?
So you had the first version. The second version, on the back of it, it actually says for your school, because say, for an example, I'm answering the phones, right? And I'm from one part of the town. I don't know the directions from the other part of the town, right? So the newer one came out. It basically said, what area would you be coming from? And then we'd have 4 areas around the school that people are already familiar with. And then they would read the directions from that area. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that was just huge to me. And then the one that I held up was the open house one, right? Mm-hmm. And I used this specific one when we did an open house, and I followed it to the letter. It ran beautifully, awesome. Well attended. So yeah, and I would not have known how to run an open house had I not bought the program.
Yeah,
even if I remember correctly, even in the open house, like a lot of people do events, but what they don't do is they don't have a metric where when somebody walks in, they know. Your staff knows what to do with them. For an example, just say you have an open house or you have a birthday party or you have something else and you have a member that comes in. That member gets a red tag, right? One with a red. And you have somebody that's not a member and they're a viable prospect because they live in town. That member would have a name tag, but that circle, the circular part at the end, the border would be green. And then you'd have somebody that might be from outside that might not be a prospect, but they could be, they might have a yellow. So now you know that when you have 25 people there, anybody with the green are the ones you need to be paying extra attention to. Anybody that's red, you need to be saying, hook up with the guys that are green. And anybody that's yellow, find out a little bit more about them if they want to travel over. Now, because everybody, when they do an event, they do an event for the event and they say they want leads. But what they don't do is the event to convert the leads. So in your event, whether it's a party, whether it's an open house, no matter what it is, your goal is to get them excited to want to come back, right?
Right.
You also have to know who to excite. If you have 40 people to talk to and 20 of them are your prospects, focus your people you're talking to on the 20. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And I like how you basically are segmenting your list.
Right.
Yeah. That I love. I think that it's simple. Like back in the day when software wasn't really doing everything for us, we had to simplify our lives or else we could have had system after system and it got more and more confusing. So I like what you did with just the name tags alone, knowing who to focus on, right? Or else you're spinning your wheels on somebody who's a grandparent who lives in Idaho, 4 towns away, and you wasted 20 minutes on them and ignored the prospect.
Yeah. So for an example, on a birthday party, everybody does birthday parties, right? So on a birthday party, I'd sit the kids down. Hey, raise your hand if you want to learn how to break a board. Raise your hand. Okay, everybody wants to break a board. Come over on this side. Raise your hand if you want to try a lesson. Boom. Raise your hand if this isn't for you. Boom. Now I already know.
Yeah.
Now, when the parents come to pick them up, I know which parents to go to. But it's also on your form when they come in, they check off whether they want the lesson,
That's
awesome.
Things
like that. Yeah. So it's all about, see, I really believe like when we did sales, everybody that didn't know me thought I was a salesman, right?
Right.
All I really was an educator. So my goal was to find out what somebody's need, want, or pain was, as Tony Robbins would say, right? I'd find out when they needed to have it fixed by or why they needed it done, right? And if it didn't happen, what would be the negative things that would be? And if it did happen, what would be the positive things? And then, and that way you have more of a measure to sell against. Okay. But then I would just educate them how they're going to get them here. Then I would just find out what's kept them from doing it in the past, overcome that step by step, and then they join. So really the overcoming objections was to overcome their fear of why they wanted to start. Like we know that most teenagers and adults, the biggest fear that they have is getting injured or looking stupid, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you know that in the very beginning, that's good. I think that when people come in, whether it is a quick conversation, whether it's a quick conversation outside or whether they come into your school, when they say, what do you want to accomplish? And they tell you, people always sell on what they tell you, correct?
Yeah.
Well, most of the time, parents don't know what they want or they say the wrong thing. So I always just say, give me an example. And then that's all you need. So for an example, I want to teach my kids self-confidence and I want to teach them to do this, do this, and do this, and do this. And you say, okay, well, give me an example. Well, the confidence to raise his hand in school, he's not doing that. Or somebody else might say, well, when a bully picks on him, I want to have the confidence to stand up. Those are two totally different sales points.
They are.
So giving that example is important thing. And then if you don't know the answer, I used to tell people, well, let me ask you something. If you got this, how do you think that would make your life change? What would be better because of it? Then they tell you the answer and you just agree with them and add a little bit more if you didn't know what to say, right? So those were the things that in the manual that was just, the whole thing was it's all basic understanding of human behavior. And if you had a friend, what are the questions you'd ask them? If you wanted to help them, how would you help them? If you do the same thing to your clients, you'll do good. But if you try to use trickery or the language that I see in some of these things, people know that's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never felt like it was, I thought all your information was more educational than anything else. And also the ability to be able to actually have an answer. Mm-hmm. And, when questions were asked, because especially for me, when I first started out, I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't come from a sales background. I was a meat cutter before I, did this full time. And so I didn't have to sell it. People came to the counter and you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't asking if they want fries for that or if they want to upsize it or anything like that. It was just, right. I just did my job. And so moving into this, there, like you said, there's a negative connotation to sales. But if you're a real good salesperson, like you're saying, you're really just educating, coming alongside, and then offering a solution to whatever your said problem or problems are. And if you can't give that solution, then you just need to be honest enough to say, yeah, unfortunately, we're not equipped to be able to answer or help in those areas, but here are some other places to maybe go.
Here's what I want everybody to understand is, for me anyway, if anybody walks into my business and they don't become a member, I did them a disservice because I didn't educate them on how they could change their kids' lives. If somebody's a member now but quits because of testing or sparring or some misunderstanding or whatever it may be, I've done them a disservice because they won't be able to get the benefits that they could have gotten if they stayed. And most people want to quit several times before they go all the way through to their black belt and get the values. And the difference would be the parent, a friend, a classmate, or the instructor on how to re-energize and motivate them to stay. So that's the way that I look at a loss of a student, whether it's a beginning of a student or a retention of a student, means I didn't do my job to get them to stay, because we really do have things that are valuable for people. And if you think about it that way, everybody that you let go, you could have helped. And if you really think about it that way, your goal is to keep them. Does that make sense?
Certainly.
Not as a dollar sign, not as a payment, not as a contract or anything else. It's because of that reason. And if you do everything because of that reason, you won't make a bad choice.
Everyone keeps yelling at you and saying, Tommy on our thing. So John Hackelman.
Oh, hey, everybody who's on there.
John Hackelman from the pit. And
my goodness.
Yeah, Toby Milroy as well. So they Tommy with an exclamation point. I'm like, I'll tell him you said hi.
Love it. Yeah, man. It's good to hear those names. It's been a while.
Crazy, dude, right? We have to go on a little tour, you and I. You and Dwayne and I will go out on and do a little mini teaching tour.
You don't want
That'd
me.
be fun.
So, Tommy, I have a question for you. So,
yes,
a lot of people, in fact, I just had a breakfast meeting with 4 of my friends this morning, and they're all like, I'm not a salesperson. I got to hire someone who's a sales. Like, one guy's looking for a program manager, and his main criteria is they have to be good at sales. And I said, by the way, some of them might be good at selling cars, but they're not going to be good at selling a martial art program. So what do you suggest? And you shook your head. I saw that. Like, you don't have to be a salesperson. You got to follow the step-by-step system, right? And
you don't want a salesperson.
Okay.
Here's what you want. You want the salesperson that has the formula of following the right habits to sell. So for an example, the reason you want the salesperson is because they'll make the contact, they'll follow up the contact, they'll set their day a certain way. If the appointment doesn't show up, they'll fill it in with another appointment. They won't let it go, and things to that nature. You have a calendar of 5 spots, you always fill those 5 spots. If you've got 4 spots filled, then you should have one person that's a renewal or one person that's an evaluation, that when you don't have that person to talk to, I pull somebody out from there and I do a student evaluation and maybe do an upgrade, a cash out, or a buddy referral. So every single minute, that's why you want a salesperson. You don't want a salesperson because a salesperson, especially if they're not from the martial arts industry, are there to sell. Okay. Now, if you just take the system that I sold a long time ago, you have a certain number of questions. The reason those questions don't work for everybody, phone scripts and sales scripts, is because people ask the questions because they're on the paper. They don't ask the questions knowing the answer they're already waiting to hear. right? But if you read, like you did my sales thing, right? I ask these questions for specific and specific reasons. There's not one question I ever ask that's not because of a reason. And if I don't get that answer, I don't move off that question till I get it, because that's where objections come in later. Very first thing, just a phone script. One of the most important things to ask when somebody calls is one thing. Have you ever called or visited our studio? If you just say that on the second thing or whatever, they'll say, oh no, or yes, I was there back then, or no, but I have a friend was there. All of a sudden, within 10 seconds, you already know the temperature of the person that you're speaking to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The same thing with time objections. So when you say a salesperson, what you want is a person that can relate to somebody, because you see, a salesperson also is this. When you have a salesperson, they've already been trained to sell. The whole idea is, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't get one, but I'm saying if you get the connotation of that car salesman, the connotation of that pusher, right? You want to ask the questions, wait for the answers, and then follow up with the questions that you continue to do, because you're leading them to buying. You're not forcing them to do anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they need is a system. And I've been bad at this lately because I've had so many different projects. I decided to do almost every position in the school for 1 year.
Yeah.
Even though I have staff, because that'll tell you where your holes are. It'll tell you what the customers really think. It'll tell you, all these other things. And since my next phase, I'm 58 now. So my next phase is to do what I did actually 15 years ago, leave the school.
Yeah.
But anyway, as I might be moving out. So I've got to see, where are all the holes now? What's changed since COVID? What's changed since all the internet stuff? And what do we still need to have that person-to-person contact with, right? Because I'll still tell you what, all the lead, all the automation, all the responders and all the SMSs, they still can't compare to a phone call. They really can't.
Yeah.
SMS is much better than email for me, and picking up the phone and just saying, hey, boom, they'll come in much faster. Okay, because if 10 people call, 5 don't even want to speak to you. They want to do the SMS and come in, right?
Right.
But yes, there's still those 5 that really would like to ask you a question. So you have to really do both. Yeah, you can't segment them out. But I'm sorry. So go ahead about the salesperson. So
no, that was a lot. So they're looking specifically for a salesperson. I'm holding my quote fingers up, right? But so what you're saying is it's not necessarily a person who's done sales before. It's someone who can follow the systems, has the right personality, and is able to ask all the right questions. That's like training them to be a salesperson, because they're selling by educating, right? They're selling by questioning. They're placing them in a position where that these people want to join, want to sign up, and so on.
But here's the danger too. So the people that need a salesperson are most of the people that either don't sell themselves, right? Or they don't have that much of a knowledge in it. So now what you're doing is you're opening up to every contact that you have to a person that's saying things to people that you have no control over. Right. You don't know what they're saying and anything else. So I would say, like what I used to say is the phone script and sales, overcoming objections and student evaluations. You can do this right on your podcast. You could have something come up every day. It's sparring is all it is. If I spar, I'm getting used to do my movements and how to react to things, right? When I do my telephone presentation, when I do my overcoming objections, when I do my selling, it's the same thing. So if you and I are doing it right now, I'm the person that's selling you. I make a phone call, you answer it, somebody hears it, right? Then the other person does it, then the other person does it, then the other person does it. In a 20-minute phone call, they can hear and partake and then view, right? 10 or 15 phone calls. If they do that a couple times, a month, they're going to be much better off.
Yeah.
That's something you could do on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that people can do other than rely on somebody that they're hiring to bring in, that they don't know what they're speaking or what they're saying. There has to be you have to have some control over what the people do say when they do sell your program.
Yeah, I've had people who've literally sold people out of the program where they
you talk too much.
They'll talk too much. I left them like here. I remember this one situation, 2 girls older, maybe not older, but 18 to 20 years old, and I left and they're ready to sign. So I said, hey, so and so, just finish this. I come back an hour later, he's still talking.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we'll get back to you. Like he literally outsold them out of the program.
It's almost, yeah, it's
Confused
almost
the
like
hell out of them.
it's almost like your 1 month trials, right?
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, a lot of people probably get upset with me, but I think a 1 month trial is way too long. Here's why. The people know within 1 or 2 times they come in if they want to do it.
Right.
If they come in that 4th time and something happens, or the 6th time and something happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then they're thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, right?
Yeah.
So you get them excited about coming in, even if you do a 2-week thing. Most of the time they join after the first lesson or the second lesson.
Right.
You know, and then, I mean, you could even, as far as sales goes, if you didn't know anything about martial arts at all, you could just do it this way. Somebody walks in, there's 3 types of people that come in. 1, they know about the martial arts, they know about the benefits, they're just looking for the right school. 2, they're thinking about doing martial arts, they're not really sure if this is for them or not, and looking for more information. And 3, somebody told them to come in, they have no idea what this is about. Would you say you're in section 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah, I would be number 1.
Great.
Yeah.
And then I'd say number 1, okay, fantastic. You already know what you want. You're just looking for the right school. You know what, and then you start your thing. If they're number 2, then you say a different thing, and number 3 is even different. But if you oversell, what I've noticed honestly is it's so much easier to sell people now.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my system because people were a little bit harder to get on a 3-year contract back then, or 2-year contract, or 1-year contract, overcoming objections and spouse objections and all this other kind of stuff. I honestly don't even have that problem anymore. And it's but here's the problem you do have. When you don't do that, then the first thing that goes wrong, if it's just an activity, people quit.
Yes.
So that's why also the presentation is important, because when you say, what are you looking for? Here's the things, check off the things that you think are most important. Tell me what you want to do. They tell you. Then you give them the list, the check off sheet that we have. Then they start checking off things, right? And then you say, circle the 2 that are most important. If you were to get one in the next 2 weeks, which one would it be? Boom. Great. Give me an example. Now I know exactly what to hit on. Then I'll say, let me ask you something. If you came here and they decided they didn't like it anymore, is this something that you would continue to do, or you stop? Well, I'd stop. Well, then how would you get number 1? No, you're right. I would continue. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Or no, I would continue. You would continue because you'd want them to do this, right? Yes. And if they don't get this and they come here, that's a negative thing. If they do get this, that's great. So these are all the rooms for improvement. With you, me, and my staff put together, we can help them get there. Okay. If there's a hiccup, that's okay. We'll get them there.
Yeah.
Can you make that commitment to get your child what he needs before he gets to? Because most people say they're going to sell a black belt program, right? What if somebody comes into your school and they don't want to get a black belt? Can you sell them a 3 to 5 year program?
No.
Sure you can.
Well,
Ready?
Not a black belt program.
No, you can't, right? So that's what I'm saying. You're right. So what you say is, what grade is he in? Well, he's in 3rd. And you're looking to make sure that by the time he gets into middle school, which is one of the roughest times, that he has the confidence, the self-discipline, and to be able to protect himself, correct? Fantastic. We've got 3 years basically to get that. So here's what we're going to do. Boom. So now what are they thinking? They're going to be here at least till middle school. Does that make sense? Because that's what they need. That's your 3 years, or if they want it before they go to college or high school or college, or after they get out of college, or when they move. So there's always that bar to get that longer message. Because if they say, well, I'd stop, I'll say, okay, great. If you're going to stop, how else would you get that result? Well, I don't know. See? So then you've got them over the barrel. So we've got, in martial arts, we've got that specific thing. Of course, other arts can get you in shape. Other things can get you in shape. Other things can give you confidence. Other things can get you friends. Other things get you all that kind of stuff. But other things don't give you self-defense. So that's why we have the icing on the cake of any other activity.
Yeah, well, of course we're biased, but we're top tier over all the other activities, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because they cannot, every single thing you said that they can get from other places, they can also get from us, plus what you said, the self-defense, and they can't get that from any other thing.
Nope.
Yeah.
How about this? So I'm gonna try to ask, like, based on what I experience, right? So I'm in a very, a lot of people are, but I'm in a very dense martial arts school dense area. like we probably have 20 schools within the 3-mile radius around us, right? So people have a lot of options. They could drive down the block and see 4 other schools. On the way there, they probably saw 6 schools. So they know that the competition is stiff, but also at the same time, I think my biggest competition is that fear of commitment. A lot of times, because we do 1-year agreements in our school, and a lot of times people will be like, oh, we don't want to commit our, 8-year-old or 10-year-old, and I go through the whole spiel on, you get them to do things they don't want to do all the time. And, you tell them to eat right, take a shower and all that. So, but what are some of your techniques that you use against that commitment objection?
So let's do this. So let's just do an example, because that's where it makes a difference. So you're coming in, we just gave you the lesson, right? Based on what you've seen so far, what's impressed you the most about what you've seen in the school?
Yeah. Oh, I loved the way they stand at attention and pay attention and really focus. I think that was amazing.
Okay. Awesome. Now, this is before, what was the reason they came in?
He has a little bit of an issue in school. He gets in trouble. He's a little disrespectful at home. But he's a shy kid too. So I would like to work on all those things.
Okay. Him being disciplined at school, right? And now, if we don't fix that, what's going to happen? Is it a big deal, or is it just something little?
Yeah, I probably think he'll end up in prison at some point.
Oh my God.
I've had people say that to me.
Right. But a lot of times what happens with a lot of our parents is when the kids are having trouble in school and they come home and it follows them home. Then the father gets home from work and he gets upset because there's something happened. And all of a sudden, a lot of stuff down around the dinner table at night. And it really creates kind of tension in the house. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I'm thinking you're saying is, other than him having a problem in school and getting worse, you also don't like that tension in the house. And you need something that's going to help you get him to listen. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And most kids listen to their coaches and instructors and things of that nature more than they do their parents, right? So what we need to do, the most important thing, is to get him in an activity where he's around other people that have the behavior that modify what you're looking for, versus in other activities where the behavior is the same thing he's doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The nice thing that we pride ourselves in here, when you see that discipline, you see them standing up straight and they want to earn their next belts, the way we do it in our school, many schools aren't like this, but the way they do it in our school is we do A, B, C, D, and that's what makes a difference to be able to carry the martial arts and the principles that we teach home and then back in school. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So now there's a commitment, though, I think, right? And I don't know. He's quit everything he's ever done. So I don't know if I want to commit for a year and then him wanting to stop.
Right. Have you ever committed to a program with something like this before?
With him, no. He's quit everything that he's done. He did soccer. He quit. He did football and baseball. So I'm nervous about signing a contract.
Right. So really, you need to commit to something if you want a result, number one, right? But there's only 3 reasons why kids usually quit. This is Dwayne, this is on the system, right?
Yeah.
Right? So there's only 3 reasons why kids quit. Either they're bored, right? That's one. It's too hard or something, right? That's another one. Give me another reason. Why does your son quit?
Yeah, well, mainly because he got bored. That was it, and he didn't think he was getting any better. He wasn't progressing.
Right. And what's another reason that he quit, and something else other than that?
Just mostly boredom. I think that was the main thing, and lack of motivation.
So you come to the right place, man, because I'll tell you what, not only because we teach martial arts, because we have a different curriculum, because they learn new things each time they come in, they're not going to get bored. But what also they do too is we have a reward system. So we have three. We have long-term goal, short-term goal, medium goals, short-term goals, and immediate goals. So we have belts to earn, maybe shooting for his black belt or something to that nature, right? Then we have a belt, which is in a 3-month process. And then we have stripes on those belts. When they achieve something, they get those as they move along. So they're constantly motivated. But the really neat thing is when they start moving up in rank, now they kind of have a sense of pride too, because new people are coming in. They're looking up to him. And now you're starting to get maybe that leadership or that mentorship type of thing too. So not only can you turn your child around and have him start not misbehave in school, you want to turn him around so he feels like a leader. And until he feels that, he's never going to know what it feels. Until he experiences, he's never going to know what it feels like.
Right.
That's why we have our kids that do that. Now, the reason there's a commitment is because we make a commitment to you as well. And the hard time is when somebody begins, because the parents, if they've never done it before, we have to get them to that certain point, right? So we're going to be working with him. Also, if you go to a school that does not have memberships and contracts, you're probably going to see the same thing you've seen with your child, in and out, in and out, in and out. That is not a conducive environment to learning. So if I had 10 people that came in this month, and then we had 7 people leave and 10 more people came in, and then 8 people left and 10 more came in, your son now doesn't have those friends that he would have had, and he doesn't have that solid, structure.
Yeah.
So that's why we have that. So if you're somebody that is really looking to get those results, okay, and you want us to commit to your son, we want you to make a commitment to us. It's that simple.
Yeah. I kind of sound like you a little when I'm talking to the people, but I find that some people are just, you ever had the objection, like, I just don't want to push my child. Like, I don't want to force them to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I hear, if I had $1 for every time I heard that in my schools, and I don't know if it's just Long Island or New York, it's probably not, but
it's a New York thing.
Yeah, it's a New York.
Well, so it is. So I don't want to force my child to do anything. I said, I understand completely. I said, but what you do want is you want the results that this can give them. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And if you don't apply that parental thing to where you do, I won't say force him, but make him committed to finishing something, he's going to quit everything he does. And then then 10 years later, you're going to go, you know what? I wish I went ahead and did what I should have done. Right. You're going to say that. So, I mean, that's completely up to you. All I can tell you is we make a difference in kids' lives. I think we can help your child. I think he's going to have fun. I don't think you're going to have that problem anyway. Yeah. But you know what? Most people do want to stop 1 or 2 times. The difference is the person that's teaching them and the person they're going home with. So between you and me, we can keep them in. We can keep them motivated.
Right.
Okay. But you're not going to get the result you're looking for in the future if you don't make some type of commitment to them now.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to, I mean, that's your choice, because otherwise 4 years from now, you're going to come back and say the same thing. But the problem is he's going to be elevated because now he's in middle school or high school. And the best time to get a child to start listening really is the age of your son now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Right.
Well, the best time was yesterday, but the second best time is today.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I find that, everything you're saying is so true. And I feel like that again.
But you know what? Let me tell you something. So let me really quick. I'm sorry. The biggest thing is, though, if you start, what happens is people back into what we're doing right now.
Right.
If you use that system, right, you've educated them up. The questions that you ask brought them already to that susceptible point of where they're going to, like for an example, when somebody doesn't want to join, now I'm overcoming objections with you, correct?
Right.
Yes.
But the part of the presentation that's really important is the fact that I don't have to overcome objections because they weren't an objection yet. Because what we did is, how long have you been thinking of getting into martial arts? 2 years. What happened 2 years ago that made you start thinking about it? Well, he was getting picked on in school and this and that and this and that, right? Are they the same now, or have they changed? Oh, well, no. Now it's more of a confidence thing and stuff like that. And the teacher said that we need to get him to do this because of this, this, and this. He's getting in trouble in school and things like that, or he's going to the wrong thing. Okay. Other than that, is there any other reason that you're here other than him having fun? Because he's going to have a lot of fun. No, the biggest thing is he's just not listening in school. I'm having a hard time with him. It's getting worse every year. What are you doing now to change that behavior? Well, I ground him and I do this and I do that and I do this. Well, there's different things that you can do to have kids do something. Every time I meet a child, I can make a deposit or a withdrawal. If I make a withdrawal, I'm punishing, I'm telling him not to do this or he can't do that. If I make a deposit, I'm saying, what would somebody be doing if they did this? Oh, hey, everybody watch him. Look at him. He did a good job. Now they're doing things that are motivating that behavior versus punishing that behavior, right? So what I'm saying is that the questions that you ask him beforehand, you're going to start finding those objections. For an example, if you decided to do this and in 6 months from now, if he decided to quit, is that something you'd quit? Or is that something you'd have him continue to do because you know it's good for him? And by the time he gets into junior high school, you want him to have those core values and the things. Which would you do as a parent? That's where the whole thing that they're going to say, well, I don't want to make him do anything he doesn't want to do because you're not selling anything. I never set price. I didn't do a lesson yet or anything else, right? I didn't even do a lesson. Okay. So, or you could have done the quick lesson after that and you could say, well, and that's where you overcome it. You know what I mean? Then when you get him into the lesson, that's where you also amplify that child so he wants to do it. And then you tell him when you come back, is this something you want to do? Yes. What are you going to do at home for your mom to have you do that? Because she has to bring you every day. What do you mean? What am I going to do? Well, everybody has to earn something. If you want to have a good time here, man, you're going to be really good too. I'd love to have you. I got a perfect class to put you in. You're going to make a lot of friends. But anybody can kick and punch. But to do martial arts, you have to do other things too. Your job is to make your parents smile. Okay? Are you happier when your parents smile or when they don't smile? If your dad comes home from work and he's not in a good mood and you don't listen, do you have a better night or a worse night? Right? So, and all these teeny little tidbits that when you're teaching them the lesson, the parents are listening to this going, shit, man, he's talking about making me smile, right?
Yeah.
Then the kid comes off. I said, well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and give you another lesson. You can try a class. Just want to make sure your room's clean before you come back. Is that cool? Can you do that for me? Your dad's not here. What can you do to make your dad smile when you go home tonight? All right, good. Then when you come back, here's what we'll do when you come back. You said you wanted to kick that bag. I said, not this time. I'll let you do it the next time you come in before you go to class. But what I'm getting at is all you're doing is your research. What is the person looking when they come in? And when people, everybody has something. Everybody has a reason for doing something, and everybody's different. Most people have that button. The hardest person to sell is the one they're just there for an activity. If they have a good time, that's great. And if they don't want to have a good time, that's fine. Now, if that's the person, I just say, ma'am, I'd love to have you here, but we're not looking for people that are going to come in and decide next month that they don't want to be here anymore, because we have a certain culture in the classroom and we have a certain thing. Plus, I don't want to teach somebody how to kick and punch and then have them leave and go become a bully because they didn't stay long enough to learn how to use it, when to use it, and when not to use it.
Yeah.
So if you're just looking for fun to kick and punch and do it for a week or two or leave, then we're not the right school for you. And you're not the right school for them.
Right. Right.
And that's a takeaway right there as well. But the thing is, see, you have two things. You either sell the parent or you sell the kid, or you do both. If you do any of those three, you're good to go. If you couldn't sell the parent and the kid didn't have a great time, you lose. If you couldn't sell the parent and the kid loved it here, you'll sell the parent.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep. No, exactly. Yeah. And I think I know that some of the stuff we went right into the sales, but I'm glad you backed it up and said, a lot of this is prep work. A lot of this is foundational things that we're going to work on. And yeah, you're definitely going to set the stage prior to actually, sitting down and quote unquote selling them on the program. And I wish there was a better way to talk about, like a better label rather than a salesman. I just kind of call it share and care. I'm going to share with you about the program, and I'm going to care about what it is that you're looking for out of the program, and then see if we can't make those match up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're the admissions, I'm the admission director, just like a college. My goal is to find out what you're looking for, to find out if we have what you're looking for. And then the bottom line is two other things is, are you going to benefit what it's for? And are you going to stay long enough to get those benefits? That's my main goal. Okay. So, how long have you been thinking about doing it? Are those still the reasons now? Or have they changed? Great. If you do it, how will it help him? If you don't do it, what will happen? And that middle ground is what we need to fit. That middle ground is where we need to come in. Okay. And if they say, well, I'd like to do this, but my husband might, not want to do it and everything else and this and that, no problem. Bring your husband next time he comes in. Let me ask you a question. What could I show your husband or say to your husband that would bring him from a no to a yes? Well, he's really worried about this. He's really worried about this. And he'd probably like to see this. Fantastic. Then what we'll do when he comes in is I'll show him those things. Is there anything else I need to know? No. So now the mom's telling me all the things that I need to know before the dad ever comes in, right? And so all it is really is, I really feel this way, man. It's a fact-finding mission. Somebody wants to quit your school. Why? Most of the time they tell you it's not the truth in the beginning anyway.
Right.
It's like when a kid comes out of class and you say, did you have fun? And he says, yes. What does that tell you?
Not
Nothing.
much.
No. Did you have this much fun, or this much fun? Oh, I had this much fun. Well, I had this much fn. Then you can say, oh, what did you like?
Or they're being
How
polite.
could I made it, right? If you say, hey, is a black belt one of your goals? No, not really. From a 1 to 10, what would you say your son was? Probably a 6. Well, let me ask you something. How can I get it from a 6 to a 10? What's missing? Oh, he just doesn't like the sparring. If it wasn't for sparring, he'd love it. See, right. Or a 6 to a 10. Well, he loves sparring, and half the kids can't spar in his class, so he doesn't feel challenged, and he thinks he's wasting his time because it's like the school doesn't have good sparrers. Oh, the school has fine sparrers. We just might not have great sparrers in his class. If you weren't concerned about that, would it be any other reason? No. If he had that, we'd be good to go. Great. Why don't you come to our AAU practice first? See how you like it. Guess what's going to happen? Now I'm going to upgrade him. Or maybe I don't have good sparrers in school. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to upgrade him to private lessons. So anytime there's a negative thing of why somebody wants to quit, believe it or not only can you keep them, you can upgrade them to something that they're looking for.
Right.
Because all they're going to do is exchange this experience for another experience that could be the same 6 months down the road, except they're new people.
Right.
That's it. Really go one school to another school. So let me see. The only thing you don't like is this, and you're going to leave all your friends, the instructors that you do like, to go to a school that you're not sure of, that the facilities aren't as nice, that you may have the same problem or worse 2 months down the road. That doesn't make much sense, really, does it, ma'am?
Yeah.
Right. You just talk to them as people.
Yeah. I just had this morning, I have one of my little warriors. He's 4.5, and they're up for renewal. And the parents just said, I think we might take a break and we're going to try soccer. And I said to him, why? Why would you take a break? Why can't you just do soccer and the martial arts? And the dad and I started having some dialogue. Now he's like, oh, now I really got to think about this. So at least I got him on the path of not quitting and not, getting rid of the martial arts in his life. And I'm hoping that he stays because this kid has come so far. And it's
so, here's what I usually tell people. Now, this isn't always the case, right? Because sometimes parents want them to do other things and multiple things, right? But most of the time, when somebody says I'd say most of the time, like 80% of the time, I'm going to freeze. I want to try other sports. I want to do this. I want to do that. Right. What they're really saying is, okay, I'm doing martial arts, but I'm going to look for something else that might be more fun than martial arts. So what they're telling me is what they're doing right now, they enjoy it all the time. They come in, they're having a great time and seeing the benefits.
Yeah.
Why would they stop doing that to go see if they like something else?
Right.
Now that's different because in soccer or lacrosse, where they do want to try different sports. Does that make sense? So that's why your thing of do both, right?
Right.
But most of the time when somebody says I'm taking a break and I'll be back in 2 months or 3 months, or they don't give you, or they say they're going to take a break and they freeze their membership, or they don't give you a return date.
Right.
They're already telling you they're not coming back.
Right.
So what you do is you find out why, right? For an example, well, we're going to go ahead and take a 3-month break because of this and this and this and this, and da, da, da. So I want to talk to them later. So that's why I never take the phone calls and meet them first. Anybody that wants to quit or anybody that wants to take a break, I always wait. And the first thing that I do is I go to the instructor and I say, hey, how is he doing in class? Does he like he enjoys it? Not really. Half the time he comes in, he's late and they're rushing. Or, yeah, he really likes it, but he doesn't like the beginning of the class with the jumping jacks because he's heavy and he's out of shape. Or they hate sparring, or they hate forms, or whatever they may be. Now I'm getting a little inkling of what goes on. So a lot of times when I speak to somebody afterwards, I say, oh, you're going to take a little break. And I'll say, well, great. That's no problem. If you want to take a break, that's okay. Tell me this. What do you like best about training? Right? And then the kid goes, well, I really like these things. I said, is there anything that you would change that you wouldn't do? Oh, he doesn't like to spar. If you weren't worried about sparring, is that something you'd want to continue to do? Well, yeah, if I didn't have to spar, I would do it. Okay. And would you do soccer too, or just this? Oh, if I didn't have to spar, I'd just do this. Now we know why the reason he was going to quit.
Right.
You see, and I'm not saying that we would stop sparring, but what I'm saying is that it's the same thing as when somebody joins, finding out the objections. When somebody leaves, you have to do the exact same thing. And you only have to ask a couple questions to get it. And once you get it, then you can say, if you weren't concerned about that, would there be any other reason he would stop? Well, that and the price. Other than that and the price, would there be anything else? No. Okay. Well, you're going to think about the price one time, and it's back to the enrollment, even though it's the exit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the same objections that you have when you enroll somebody are the same objections you have when they want to leave. Okay. It's just that you're answering them after the fact.
Well, I will tell you, I had that same thing with the whole sparring with a kid. He started with me when he was 3. He just turned 19 on Sunday.
Wow. Good.
And there was a period of time, and he's one of my one of my top instructors at the studio now. But there was a time that I said, okay, fine, let's just not spar right now. And then we'll reintroduce it a little bit later. And now he loves sparring.
Yeah. So you have drill sparring and free sparring. So it's not that they don't like sparring. What they don't like is not having control, right? So that's why I try to tell parents. So if people teach sparring like this, they teach it one of two ways. They put you in there, they tell you what to do, you figure it out.
You get beat up.
Or they do drill sparring to where you learn how to do a combination, you learn how to do the block for that combination, you learn how to do it on this side, then you learn how to do something on this side. Then after they got both of them, then they make a choice where they do either one, and then you have to make a decision. They start getting better in their footwork or their blocks or whatever it may be. So then we're teaching them how to spar versus throwing them in there, making them learn how to fight. Right. So different people like it different ways, right? But what I'm getting at is that do you know that some people that don't like to spar, do you know the reason? Because they don't like the headgear and the chest gear, not the sparrings. I found out people feel claustrophobic. There's a small percentage of kids that don't like to wear all that stuff.
Really?
Yes. I mean, and I would say maybe, I don't know, if you had 100 kids, maybe 2 or 3, but they and maybe more sometimes, but they don't like it. Some people don't mind sparring. They don't want to hit anybody. Some people don't want to get hit. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people are scared. So everybody has a different thing. So that when I speak to somebody and they say, I don't like sparring, I say, okay, well, tell me, what about sparring don't you like? Well, they can't tell you. Well, most people when they spar, they either don't like to hit somebody else. See, I don't even say hit, I say tag because it's a game of tag. They don't like to tag somebody else. They don't like to get tagged, or they don't know how, and that's what frustrates them. Which would you put yourself into? I just don't like the helmet because it makes me feel like I'm going to, right? I don't like the chest gear because it's too tight. Or I feel like this guy, or I don't want to hit anybody. I don't care if I get hit, but I don't want to hit anybody else. Or I'm scared that some boys, there's a girl in the class. He sees that she can fight good. He doesn't mind sparring. He doesn't want to look bad because that girl may beat him. Then a girl beat him. Man, there's so many reasons why people will say things. But would you say that? Would you say, well, I really like to spar, but I'm scared in this class. If that girl beats me, then a girl beat me, and then everybody will tease me. No, you're not going to say that.
No.
Right? So there's questions that you have, no matter what it is, where you can say one question. I call it a temperature check. I do a temperature check every time. I walk down we have 60, 70 feet of bleachers. I walk down and say, hey, how you doing? Oh, who are you watching? Oh, I'm watching so-and-so. Okay, great. And, because maybe I didn't see that person before, right? Or how's Johnny doing? Oh, he's doing pretty good. I said, okay, is he having a little bit of fun or a lot of fun? He's having a lot of fun. He's liking it. How's the instructor doing on the floor? He's not really as disciplined as the other instructor was, right? Or, man, he's a lot more disciplined than the other instructor. My kid's kind of scared of him a little bit, right? I'm always doing a temperature check, and then you go back, you put it in the notes and things like that, if somebody wants to quit, we're thinking about leaving at the end of our membership. Oh, really? Okay. I sit down and I talk to him. So what's one of the reasons? Well, he just doesn't like this and like this and like this about it, but he does like these things. So no problem. I'll tell you what, you're going to be here for a little while longer. So why don't we do this? Why don't we check back in about 2 weeks? Let me talk to the instructor and see how it's going after that, right? And I tell them I'm going to check with them. Then I go in there and say, hey, the instructor, watch out. We just had a kid. The kid there's 2 kids in the sparring class that is telling the other kid that he's going to kick him in the face while they're sitting down. He's whispering it to the kid. And then he goes over there. And when he's in the corner, he's dominating. 2 kids are picking on 1 kid, right? We don't know this. She made a comment to me. I told the instructor just to keep his eyes open. He saw it. He took care of it. Today, I just, before we got on the phone call, I SMS'd the mom. I said, hey, I just wanted, because I put a reminder in the Spark. I just says, note, and it says, remind me, on Thursday, and I put my name on it. So today it said follow up, and I looked at it this morning, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to follow up to see if that was okay, right? Because today's Wednesday. They sparred on Thursday. She talked to me on Tuesday, and she sent a message to me, and I just copy and pasted it to Raheem, and she says basically, thank you so much. It made the world of difference. He does like to spar. We still have problems with those other 2 kids, but Mr. Raheem is keeping it in check. That's nice. What she said. Yep, that's great. That's it. Because that kid would have quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, right? Even it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah. And she told me he's doing it to him and another kid named Jack. So I reached out to Jack's mom. Jack's mom didn't have a problem with it, but she could have had a problem with it, right?
Right.
You know?
That's great. So what do you think? We're running out of time and we could
Oh,
go
sure,
on.
sure.
I would love to have you on again. If we could have you on again in the near future, if you'd be willing to do that with us, that'd be great. And the other thing, have you found that running a martial arts school nowadays is harder or easier than it was 10, 15 years ago?
Easier.
Easier now. Okay.
In what regards?
Sales are easier. Signing people up are easier. I mean, it's always been okay for me, but I'm just saying, when I say easy, I don't have to do the same things I did before. But where it's harder is people don't like to stay out as long. Where it's harder is people don't hold their kids accountable like they used to, right? And so I just talked to a mom, like I just hooked up with a mom that she has the Annapolis Moms, a magazine, digital magazine, and she's got 25,000, moms in this area on her list. And she said to me, I said something to her about, we're going to do the summer camp thing, so I'm going to do something with her. And she goes, do you find that everything's changed, huh? I said, yeah, it's changed. I said, the kids that trained during COVID, they seem pretty good. The kids that didn't train seem a little different, right? But the big thing is the parents are the ones that are different.
Yeah.
And that's why the kids are different. Okay. And then she said, well, yeah, I have all these moms complaining about this. I said, well, then like you asked me your questions. So I said, this is what I would do. This is what I would say. She goes, do you coach parents? I said, I coach parents every day. I said, but what your parents probably would be an asset for your company. Why don't you have an Annapolis Moms thing? We'll have our own mastermind for them. And I said, I'll do it for free. And I'll teach them how to deal with the things they're dealing with now.
Yeah.
She goes, oh my God, really? So what's going to happen is I'll have that forum in the best form that you can have. See what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And then we teach them how to deal with it. And I told her how the mastermind would work. And she said, man, that's really great. Right. So to answer your question is, kids have changed, but parents have changed. The parents that didn't change when COVID changed, their kids didn't change that much, other than the fact of not having the interaction with other kids.
Yeah.
But when they were online, those kids didn't have that much of a problem because we were joking on and having fun online. They were still seeing their friends and stuff like that.
Now, do you think, and now, by the way, that's a great answer. And I love what you said. And I agree with you 1,000%. The parents are so much different, and not even that generationally, just in general, they're less committed. They're easier on their kids. I guess maybe everyone feels guilty that they had to go through COVID, but do you find that learning has changed? Like, I don't want to say it in a negative way, but are kids smarter now than they were 10, 15 years ago? Or no, right? I see.
No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's actually interesting. It's like, it's not so much the smarter part too. It's the physical part, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you take 100 kids, right, and say, 25 of them would have been on this area. Yeah. Now there's 40. You know what I mean? So I do see that,
Yeah.
But overall, I really believe it's the environment that they're in and when they come in. Like it's hard when they first come in, but within just a few weeks, you can change that entire environment just by the way that you interact with that child immediately. And because of COVID, if you can make the connection to that kid, you own that family.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Not I'm saying you own that family, but because most people aren't connecting with those kids like that, or they're, oh, I'm sorry, oh, this and that, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And luckily, you have two choices. I tell the mom, you have two choices. You can go ahead and enroll in here or someplace else. That's going to have you make a commitment, and then you make a commitment to getting your son the things that he needs.
Right.
Or you can do it the other way, to where you can try things, but then if he doesn't like it for whatever reason, stop and try something else.
Right.
Then you'll try something for 5 years. Make a commitment to you and your son. Make a commitment to the thing that you're looking to get out of the program, and then you'll see those results. And then when things get hard, that's when you commit even more. I said, so I can tell you that I will help you with your goals.
Right.
You don't have to join here, but you do have to make a commitment.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to make the commitment, we'll always be here when you change your mind. Okay.
I love it. That's a great way to end a sales call too, when you're talking to people as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're awesome. I appreciate your time. And do you have any things you want to share? One last bit of advice for like school owners in the 21st century? Anything that you want to share with them about running their business and, a quick golden nugget or whatever?
Okay. Something really simple. Why did you start teaching martial arts? Why do most people teach martial arts real quick?
In general, I think
For real. For real.
I think they started to teach because they wanted to have people follow them and listen to them, and it made them feel good.
Okay. Right. So if that's what they want, or if they want to change lives, or if they want to have black belts, the more people that hear about you, the more chance you have of enrolling them, the better you are at finding out what their wants and needs and pains are, overcoming those objections and getting them in, and then not letting them leave, the more people you can help. So make a commitment to yourself that I'm here to change lives and to help people. If I do a great job, I make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
So the money is, I can make money in anything I do. It doesn't really make a difference what I do, right? But I love doing this. So if you're good at it, stick with it and change as many lives as you can. And that's how you're going to make a great living to change your own life.
Right.
But if you just think about the money, you're going to do things that are motivated by money and not by results and values.
Yeah.
If you only think of results and values, you're not going to have the business sense to do this, and you will fail both times or just get by. So you have to make a commitment to both, just like that parent has to make a commitment to showing up and signing that contract. If the school owner is not willing to do that and make the investment in themselves of time and money, then you can go from it. Knowledge is nothing. You can get knowledge everywhere on the internet. How to use it, when to use it, and being disciplined to use it is the thing. Like martial arts, I can learn anything by looking at YouTube, but I'm not going to get that same thing out of it if I don't have a good mentor. So them being on your channel, they've got great mentors. You guys have done it. You care. And the difference between you and a lot of other people that I know is that you do it because you want to help.
Yeah.
Other people are doing it for other reasons. Both of you guys and myself included, we've already had people look up to us. We've helped them and everything else. I'm not looking to be on a cover of any magazine. I'm not looking to be on a speaker stage. I'm not looking to be on a podcast. But if I'm asked to, I'm happy to share. And they should be the same way in their school and have have those conversations. You need to talk about your parents to be serious about stuff and don't be scared that they're going to quit.
Right.
Hey, your son did this and he needs to learn this. If you're going to let him get away with it, then he's going to have a problem 2 years from school. I care about you. That's why I'm telling you that.
Right.
If it makes you mad and you quit, you quit. I said, but I'd rather you quit than be here and me not give him something and then him get hurt.
Right.
So you have to make the decision on what you're looking for, and I'll back you up in whatever that decision is, whether it's letting you go or helping you here. You make the decision.
I love it.
Well, and it just reminds me of what Zig Ziglar always said, is you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Well, Tommy, first of all,
it's been great, guys.
It was wonderful getting to actually see you again, let alone talk with you.
Yeah, man. So we'll see each other soon, I guess, again, hopefully at one of the Spark events or something like that.
Yeah.
And, I got to tell you,
I'm actually down. Well, I'm going to be down at my home, but my home's like an hour and a half away from their new office. So I may take a ride up and just say hi and say hello.
Man, I'm going on vacation Saturday.
Exactly. Yeah, I have a house
week in the islands on a private boat. We're gonna.
I know. I heard that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying, Dwayne?
I was just going to say, and Tommy, you might be a little freaked out when I say this, so don't take it this way. But quite often I cook, and I will cook with garlic. And my wife will say, "Oh, now the house smells like garlic."
My wife too.
and I remember a conversation that you and I had about garlic one time. So it's quite often I think about you when I'm cooking. So I'm not going to go into what the conversation was, but yeah, I think of you quite often, which to tell you
he's going to ask. I can see it in his eyes. He's going to ask you when we get off the call.
Yeah, I got to find out the story.
Well, can I share it with him?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I won't do it on the air, but I'll share it with him. So.
All right. Cool. All right, you guys. So
right,
awesome,
guys.
awesome. I'd love to have you back in the future. So thank you for sharing with everybody. We had a good group, a lot of questions. A lot of people were, yelling out your name. Master.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see anything on my thing here, but tell them to say hi to me on Facebook.
I did. David Chang, Jack Sousa, a lot of people that, Toby awesome. Milroy, a lot of the people are out there. Ryan Blanchard from New Orleans, John Hackelman, Toby Milroy, they're all reaching out and saying hi.
You got a great group there, man.
Yeah. So real awesome. All right. Thank you, bud. I appreciate it. It's great to reconnect. I'll see you soon, I hope. All right. Okay. Take care. Bye, Dwayne.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk podcast. This would not be possible if it weren't for the support of our amazing sponsors. Please check out Elite Insights for all your website needs. They can be reached at eliteinsights.com. Add Health Coaching, helping school owners create a new and easy to implement revenue stream for your school. Visit addhealthcoaching.com. Lead Hunter Media, your online digital marketer and content provider. Visit leadhuntermedia.com. Academy Kings Growth Consulting and Management Group. They can be reached at academykings.com. And Spark Membership, hands down the best martial arts software for school owner management on the planet. They can be reached at sparkmembership.com. We will see you next time.